Remember, please hit like and subscribe for me. Thank you so much. Okay, let's go. Hi, everyone. This is the Moneyball Morning Report for Tuesday, December the 23rd. My name is Anne-Marie Band, charts by TrendSpider, and gamma flows from MentorQ. We begin by taking a look at the E-mini S&P 500. As before, we are in the March contract. The trading day for Monday was what we expected, upside pressure, right? We are in a buy the dip mode and moving into this formation that began holding 6,900. We saw that in the pre-market. We realized that it's very likely that they go from one area of accumulation to another area of accumulation. Today, our zero DTE moved up 30 points. It moved from 6,900 to 6,930. Our call wall, up at 7,000, has remained the same. Those big motions have not been moved. The put wall shifted downwards to 6850, and the big put support wall is also there at 6850. So we had the 0DT put wall come down, the call wall for the 0DTEs go up, and in general, put support and call resistance staying the same for the end of the month. As flows go, you'll see resistance sitting at the top here. You'll see some support down here at 68.83 and new resistance that is sort of sitting around at 6,930. I would suspect that the break above that 6,930 will be something that we really want to look at for more upside pressure. What are we doing currently in the overnight? Well, we're currently in a little bit of a rotation into old support. So you can see the traders drifting down. We just tested the anchored VWAP of the prior day. Let's collapse into a 15-minute chart and take a look at what's going on. You can see the anchored VWAP sitting right here. We are underneath the opening VWAP event. The anchored VWAP from the close of the trading day sitting down here at 69.23. Traders are trying to buy that up. That is also the first area of known old resistance that became support. And so let's watch for them to try and buy that up. The fact of the matter is, if we come into 69.23 and we lose the level and don't immediately recapture it, remember there's two places to that. We lose the level first, and then we don't recapture it. That's where these wicks come in. And it fades, it's going to give us more downside pressure. We've got a support zone sitting between 69.19 and 69.17. So that's 6,919, 6,917. And then much deeper below that is where we spent so much of the overnight trading event. And that is between 6,911 and 6,900. So in my mind, if we lose this 69.23 and don't immediately recapture it, it is a likelihood that we fade into this low volume node. We could easily fill in this vacuum event right down here before a bounce. Notice the bimodal distribution of the price action. What does bimodal mean? It means there are two pockets of strength where traders came in and said, you know what, I'll buy it there. And Because this one is sitting during market hours, there's a lot more volume here. You can see they sat around in this zone really arguing for a long time, but this was pre-market action. So the real volume event that comes into the flow is up here during the trading day on Monday. And so that is the range we are looking at. Dips into 69.23 could easily take us up to 6,936, right? If we lose the level, maybe you want to give yourself 3 points of risk, but I don't know, maybe 4 or 5 points of risk, or you just wait for it to recapture the space rather than just buying that dip, right? Allow it to come in and do what it needs to do. Trend suggests to me, yes, dips are still buy zones. Could we stare down something that potentially looks like a breakaway? Yes, we could. What we do see is the yen strengthening. Now, it might be that I'm just over here in the Far East, and that seems just something to watch because so many people are watching it, but I do believe it is going to be somewhat important. However, the yen is still not above the area that it was prior to the interest rate increase that they announced. So that being said, that is certainly what we want to watch for. Dips, buy zones. She can come in, honey. Okay. So that's what, sorry about that. So that's what we can look at. Pullbacks are buy zones easily and an upshot into resistance. Let's take a look at the NQ. Okay, so the put wall for the 0 DTE and the put support have not moved for the NQ. This is very interesting. So they are digging their heels in for more upward flow into the end of the year. That's what's going on here. The put wall remains 25,000, 25,675, rounded about. The call walls remain further up. They were 26,000, but they've come in and now sit both with the 0 DTE call wall and the month-end call wall, both sitting at 25,800. Traders are putting some money to work that says, hey, we're moving higher. Now, what is the first problem with that we might see? One, we're breaking the put wall. We did that in the we did that in the morning of the trading day. And then we recovered into the trading day, but could not get to a higher high. Here's the second thing. On the pre-market bounce, we test a lower high, and now we are coming into gamma level 3, which was a prior put wall, right? And so we're looking at this gamma level at 25,650 with the wick that came down to 25,625 and then bounced. I do not like the dip buy here. The dip buy should be better from a risk perspective if you're above 25,675, or you come into value area high, 25,580. It also matches an anchored VWAP and a volume node of particular interest. This ledge, that doesn't look very friendly. It really, really doesn't. And so that ledge around the 25,560 to 25,590, probably a fair support zone to consider, but momentum is down. It's broken trend. It's sitting under the VWAP. Just wait for the recovery. Now, that being said, we are seeing higher lows and we are seeing higher highs, and we do suspect price action should begin to run into highs that we have seen in times past, like the beginning of December, right? That is a fair likelihood. I would say just be careful. Could you stare this down and say, you know what? I see accumulation, and I see it from gamma line 3, 25,650, all the way up to 25,750. Absolutely, you could trade that. Trend is up, higher lows, higher highs. We've already left a support floor below us. We're heading into a resistance pocket. The signs suggest upward flow. Doesn't mean it'll just do it super easy, right? And we have this bimodal distribution here. We could easily come in, fill the gap, and then begin to stabilize with support zones down here at the 25,500 area. That's my thought. A little bit sticky, right? Just like yesterday, back and forth. So what you have to remember is when your candlesticks start retracing each other like this, down candle, up candle, down candle, up candle, down candle, that retraces, down candle, up candle, down candle. Just realize what you're doing is finding an area that will trade between support and resistance. How do you do that? You dial all the way in, go to your 5-minute, and you look for the pockets that give you the range. Look for overall trend, and then say, okay, if trend is flat, I'm going to wait for the bottom. I'm going to trade it to the top. If trend is flat, I'm going to be able to trade from the top back to the bottom. And just remember where the prior tops have been so you don't get yourself overextended taking a short way down here in the middle of all the noise versus up at the top of the resistance zones near that 25,730 area. Okay? You can see the traders trying to come in here at this gamma flow line. A lot of support sitting on these tiny time frames. Dips or buys. Okay, let's take a look at micro Bitcoin. Let's go to the 1-hour chart. Very sideways. A lot of people throwing shade on Bitcoin because, it's fading. But it's like any instrument, right? It's going to have its good days, going to have its bad days. It just is what it is. But what we are clearly seeing is this region near 90,000 still behaving like a top, and this area near 85,000 still potentially behaving like a bottom. And so it's caught in this sideways pressure. The big call wall, 90,000, the 0 DTE call wall, 89,000. When we began the week, the call resistance and the 0 DTE walls were 1,000 points apart. They're still 1,000 points apart today, right? The 0 DT puts, that is up at 88,000, and we are almost $1,000 below that, all right? And so the big put wall looks like where they'll be headed. Notice downward flow and momentum underneath the VWAP, underneath the dynamic cloud that we're using as our moving average ribbon, the one-day min, 86,400, and then, our general put support at 85,000. Chart still suggesting that we've got more downside flow on the horizon here, and it could start getting pretty ugly if we lose this 85 level because it could slip all the way to 75. But what we do remember, if we've been thinking about these numbers, is this put support was at 75,000 just a few days ago. Now it's all the way up at 85,000. So they're being more aggressive. Again, as I've mentioned several times, the option traders in micro Bitcoin are not the top tier, right? There's not a lot of sophistication going on in there, and so they're offsides a lot. They are offsides a lot. Okay, let's move to oil, and that is WTI, West Texas crude, that we follow. We do not trade Brent. We trade WTI. So let's have a peek. Call wall, the 0 DTE call wall is 58. It's 58.50. It's moved up from 57.50. And then it was 58. So now it's 58.50. The big call wall is up at 61. 1 day max at 59, and then 1 day min at $56.84. What is trend? Well, we're definitely making higher highs relative to the broad motion, and we're also making higher lows. Okay, so we do see there's buying pressure. They just seized another tanker, so that makes it 4. So, there's a big game being played here, and I'm not trying to minimize how important the game is, but this is, this is statecraft, okay? It just is the things that you do to get people doing what they need to do. So here we are, another tanker seized, and oil sitting sideways most of the day today once it broke out in the early morning environment. We do have a fair bit of resistance at 58. That used to be a pretty big gamma line. Actually, it was a call wall at one point because now it's a gamma wall that is the next in line to the big call wall. And so what do we expect? Dips or buys? Dips or buys. So what would the dip action be? Well, here's the thing. Accumulation, all this inventory accumulation, really began big moves out of the break above this congestion zone. So that's about $57.26. It's now up here at $57.80. Would it be supercalifragilistic awesome to get $57.26 on the buy? Yes, it would. Is price action moving sideways? Yes, it is. Take a look at this, folks. This is not a buy and hold breakaway event. This is buy at support and sell at resistance. There's very clear price action accumulation here, but they are not holding for the big moves. They are simply moving in at support and getting out at resistance. Same story, wash, rinse, repeat. If it loses $57.61, it potentially has another 40-cent drop, right? And that's $400 per contract. So watch out. These things can move dollars at a time if things get sticky. So be careful. In essence, dips give us buying formations with upward flow, 58.50, 59, and then 60 and 61, if that happens to occur. Okay, downward flow, 57.60 to 57.20, and then 56.91 to the volume point of control at 56.47. Let's take a look at gold. Okay, gold hit a new high. As I mentioned yesterday, I believe Martin Armstrong has this 4,550 target zone. Really, as the last time I looked at it, he said 46.25 could also be another line. This is a very big breakout, as I mentioned, though. Listen, some folks are inclined to disagree with me why it is that it's moving. Of course, the simple answer is there are more buyers than sellers, but the overprinting of cash, the geopolitical risk, and the desire for the fiat currencies to have something to back their paper eventually is very likely what's pushing this up. So it's got another big rise, all-time highs. We gotta give these guys credit, right? These these gold traders are really answering the bell for motion. So this is the long here. Let's look at this. 45.25, it sort of topped tick that. 45.50, 45.78, and then 46.22 to 46.25. Those are upward flows. The shallow dips have been giving us buying formations, and the dips have been fairly shallow. Momentum is up. Trend is up. So we look for the last area of solid accumulation and a breakout. 44.83. It's a lot of, I see a gamma level 4 at 4,477, and then a support zone at 44.83, all the way down to 44.65. Right now, it's trying to recover the VWAP. So you could say this very simply to yourself. All right, if I have a bullish flow, my dips that break frontline support will very likely try to recover that frontline support. That's what they're trying to do. They're trying to get back above the VWAP. In the rotation, however, for this 30-minute, we have lower highs and lower lows. So we must retest the area and close a candle above this 4,512 area, at which point we can try to get it back into 4,519 and then 4,525. And that will give us our upward flow. If, per happenstance, we get to 4,512 and we cannot move higher, we will rotate down into the next areas of support. And look at how thin this volume pocket is. That's a very thin volume pocket, and that puts us back down at this 4,480 zone. So that is my thought. What would I be waiting for? 4,484. Could it be that it leaves me in the dust? Possibly, but that's what I would be looking for from the upside rotation. This is very strong motion on very thin volume. And notice so much of it occurred during Asia, the Asian markets here. The markets are about to close in 15 minutes here. And so that's what we're looking at, right? They bought some and now they're correcting some inventory before, Europe opens up. Let's take a look at SPY. SPY has not begun to print yet, but it will shortly. Big resistance up here at 685. We did get into that area in Monday's trading day, and now we're staying right below that $685.28. A breach above there could easily send us into 686. We've got the big call wall. Oh my. The big call wall has moved down. It was 700. It's now 690. The 0 DTE call wall has also moved in. It is now at 688. Big line of resistance here at 685.77. But getting over that, the gamma line at 687 would be the next target, and then running up into this pocket would be the target after that. So far, dips are buy zones, moving a little bit sideways, but still dip, giving us the buy right at around 684. Okay, that's it for me, folks. Take care and watch your risk, right? Trade small or not at all. And I'll see you tomorrow. Take care.